Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Solomon of Scott Selections here for Tuesday, June 1st. Before we get into today's play of the day, quick recap of what happened yesterday. We picked up a loss in the NBA with the 76ers -8 and -110 at MGM. You can cover a lot of different angles when it comes to handicapping, but seeing the best player on the team you bet get injured about 9 minutes into a game is not one of them. Embiid got injured in the first quarter, and then after that, the Wizards kind of took over. Pretty unfortunate because Philly was winning when he got hurt. Westbrook ended up going 3 for 19 from the floor. So I actually think the 76ers would have covered if he stayed healthy, but that's pure speculation. At the end of the day, Embiid got injured, and I feel like a lot of you, including myself, realized once that happened that our bet was basically dead to rights. But it happens. We'll look for a bounce-back winner here on Tuesday. And for the play of the day, we're going to be looking at the NBA once again. It's going to be on a matchup between the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets, taking place at around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for this play of the day, we like the total, and we're going to be taking the over 231.5 at -110 on FanDuel. It's on recording of 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Couple reasons why I like the over in the spot. First of all, looking at this series, the first game was really low scoring. After that, it's been an absolute track meet. Each of the last 3 games have totaled at least 238 points. You look at the last game between these teams, Brooklyn won 141 to 126. So that game ended up landing at 267. Game before that, Boston won 125 to 119. So that game ended up landing at 244. So these games have been flying over the total. It really hasn't been close. And I do think 231.5 is a little bit too low based on what we've seen from these two teams offensively and also just from their lack of defense in this matchup. But looking at the Nets, we know that this team's offense starts and ends with the big three. You have a little bit of Joe Harris and some other role players in there, Tyler Johnson, for example. But the big three do most of the damage, and they have been getting whatever looks they want in this series. You look at the last 2 games, Durant, Harden, and Irving have combined for at least 96 points in each of the last 2 games. Last game, Brooklyn scored 141. The 3 of them combined for 104. So all 3 of them are getting whatever looks they want. Boston's made no adjustments defensively. Now, it's not totally their fault because they're limited on bodies, and Robert Williams being out indefinitely really hurts because he's probably their best defensive player on the entire roster since Jaylen Brown, of course, is out for the year. But with him being out once again, or him doubtful, but he's got a seriously bad turf toe issue, I don't expect Williams to play. Kemba's questionable as well, but even when Kemba did not play in the last game, Boston still scored 126 points. But with Durant, Irving, and Harden, 2 of the 3 of them can go for 40 at any given time. And I do think you'll see them once again torch the Celtics defense, which has been really non-existent throughout the first round of the playoffs. Now, looking at the Celtics, on the other hand, you know that Brown's out. You know Kemba's probably going to be out. That means that Tatum should get double-teamed and he'll probably be stopped, right? Well, not quite, because Tatum in the last 2 games has scored at least 40 points. He had 40 in the last game. He had 50 the game prior. So the Nets seem to just be letting Tatum do whatever he wants and trying to stop the other guys. But when Tatum's going to give you 40 and you know he's going to shoot the ball 20-plus times per game, and you also know that the big 3 for the Nets can get whatever they want, you should see another pretty efficient game from all 4 players as this game turns into a track meet once again. Looking at the offensive numbers, the Nets have scored at least 130 points in 2 of the last 3 games. Meanwhile, Boston has scored at least 125 points in each of the last 2 games. So with all that being considered, both teams really have not been playing much defense. They've been playing a pretty up-tempo style of just offense from both teams. And looking at the actual number here, 231.5 might sound decent in principle, but it's really just not where it should be. This line should probably be closer to, I'd say, 235.5, maybe even higher. But if you're looking at how these teams have scored most of their points, it's come from the foul line. You look at the Nets in the last game, 29 of 30. You look at the Celtics in that game, 38 of 42. So both teams combined to attempt 72 free throws in Game 4. And we all know that if you end up having overs, you love to see players at the line. And both teams shot over 90% from the line in that game. Game prior, both teams combined for 54 free throws. You can keep going down the line. There has been a lot of foul shooting in this game, which, of course, is great for overs because the clock is stopped. But even going backwards to Game 2, both teams attempted 20-plus free throws. I think you'll see both teams live at the line once again. I don't think you'll see it in the 70s like you did in Game 4. With a decent amount of free throws, And with both teams really struggling defensively, this total is way too low. And for that reason, I will be expecting to see this game continue the high-scoring script we've seen in this series. So the play of the day, once again, here for Tuesday, June 1st, is going to be on the Celtics and Nets over 231.5 at -110 on FanDuel. Bye, everyone.